Hi, Mark.
Oh, hi, Aaron.
Oh,
How's it going?
hi. It's good. Good to see you.
Excellent.
Oh,
You too.
we do not have A24 backgrounds. We'll have to pretend.
Yeah, yeah.
S
We should have remedied that. I'm Netflix, unfortunately.
yeah, and I forget. I think Neon distributed past lives. I'm not positive. But good to see you.
Yeah, you too.
First of all, I think a lot of people know you, but do you want to give a brief introduction, what you've been doing and what you're doing now with award season here?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, award season is watching a lot of movies and doing this wonderful journey with you, leading up to and through the Oscars, which is great. We've got a lot of new movies to check out and watch, and yeah, I mean, some of my background, we did podcasted together on with
Hmm.
Criterion Now, and I've been doing a best of list every year on Letterboxd and talking with first time watchers and until they decided to hang it up at episode 500. So yeah, this dovetailed really well with continuing to focus on and talk about new movies with you.
Yeah, it's been great because I remember, of course I always try to watch the big movies of the year as well. It's just fun. And
Yeah,
Oscar season is kind
exactly.
of silly. My usually the films I love don't get nominated, but sometimes this year I think there are some gems out there. So
Agreed.
we're not
Yeah,
going to get into that. We're recording this after the nominations have been announced, and we're going to unpack that with the journey first. And so this will be posted either before or after that. And then we'll talk about the nominations plenty, but I'm really curious what they'll say. Um,
agreed.
but I wanted to talk to you about a theory.
Little
So
film theory here.
kind
I
of
like
a
it.
kind of a hypothesis, and I wanted to bounce it
Hmm.
off you. I'm thinking about writing a piece about it, and so yeah, let me just bounce it. So we're talking A24. So this is kind of awards peripheral. I don't remember if they got nominated for anything this year. I think there's maybe one or two films of theirs. But of
Yeah, no
course,
big
last
standouts. Definitely
yeah,
not. Um, Joaquin Phoenix for Beau's Afraid. That would have been a dark horse. So
very,
yeah,
very dark.
dark horse.
And there might actually be a dark horse in the movie. I couldn't tell you.
I
It's
know. It's just trying to think of that, but yeah,
but
yeah,
Beau's Afraid is a great example. That one I think was not seen as a success compared to
right.
like Midsummer. So the hypothesis I'm going to make, and I want to kind of test it on you. Well,
Yeah,
actually,
please do.
first, since we're talking about A24 and award season, they've gotten into series. So Beef has been winning a lot of awards. Have you watched that? It's on
I haven't.
Netflix.
No,
Okay.
no, not much TV for me.
And then The Curse, I want to say The Curse was on Paramount Plus. There's so many um, streaming services.
It's hard to keep them straight.
It is. But I think A24's, I mean, they're not one genre, but they become known for their horror films, their experimental films, some of their weird films. And then sometimes you get like Everything Everywhere is, I guess that would technically be like kind of a mainstream film,
Yeah,
but
I mean, it's certainly weird for a mainstream film, but then you
very,
take
yeah.
something like that's really feel good, like Marcel the Shell with shoes on, so
Hmm.
that's them as well. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. So
they do run
they
the gamut.
they do. They have a lot of films. So I'm particularly focusing on their horror films for the most part because and so my hypothesis is that they basically created a A24 a modern new wave, and that I think maybe 20 30 years from now people will be looking at some of these titles and I could see film studies classes about them. No, I'm not saying it's as
Sure,
big as like the 60s or 70s American New Wave when Easy Rider came out and all that, The Graduate. Um,
right.
I'm seeing so I well first let me say that Beef was really good, um, but I binged it, so I don't remember a lot from it.
Hmm.
Um, and then
Interesting.
so I might have to watch it again because it got I think all the actors got awards, Emmys and all that. And then The Curse is a little different. It's kind of like one of those. Um, have you seen Well, you don't watch TV, so you probably haven't seen Jury Duty, but it's
No.
kind of like it's a fake. show they're filming. And it's like a behind the scenes, kind of like an Irma Vep in a way, except they're making an HGTV documentary series. Um, or I shouldn't say documentary, it's more reality, and uh and it's kind of a send up on reality. It has Emma Stone, which is he's a big star, nominated for Best Actress, and probably not the front runner, but I would imagine maybe second or third.
Yeah.
And it also has Nathan Fielder, I think. He was the guy that was Nathan with you, I think it is. So he's kind of a cringy character, kind of an awkward, kind of like a The Office kind of style, those kind of
Hmm.
cringy comedies. But the thing is, and then the Safdies are involved. So Benny
Yeah. Benny
Safdie
Safdie's a
acts in
creator and
it. Yeah,
star. Yeah.
and he he's interesting. He takes a little while to warm up to you, but in fact, at first I was like, I want less Benny Safdie on screen, but he eventually was really amazing. But the thing about The Curse is the ending. Um, on Letterboxd, one of the reviews says, I could literally tell you the ending right now, and you would not believe me.
Hmm.
And I'm not going to. So, like when people ask if they want to see it, I'm like, well, do you have FOMO, fear of missing out on wild stuff? Which is why I watched Beau's Afraid. I might not have
Right.
otherwise because I love Midsummer.
Hmm.
And so I could just tell you that the ending is bonkers in a very unique way, is all I can tell you. And
I
then,
can tell you, I have a local couple of local friends that on upon initial watch, and of course things marinate and can change.
of course,
One loved it, one did not. So
okay.
for
I
what
could
it's worth,
see
yeah,
I could see either take.
sure,
I thought it was okay as a show, pretty good, but I also I also think like it's going to be talked about and stuff, um, and I
hmm,
think the ending is actually worth getting through the show.
just
However,
to watch that, yeah.
the first 9 episodes really yeah, that's all I can say. I can't really talk about it. But again, if I did, you would believe me. So anyway, let's get back to A24. So A24, as I as I see them, they've made a great brand out of putting art films into the mainstream. Everything Everywhere is a great example of that because it's not a mainstream film, as you pointed out, but it was very popular. It's
Right, yeah.
probably
Their
uh,
biggest film, to
yes.
date. So
Because it's popular, you think of it as mainstream, but it's pretty high art, and it
yep,
did win
yeah,
some
one of the
awards.
strangest movies to win Best Picture, and
Hmm.
that's in a you know a, with Parasite having won it recently as well. So yep.
And I was so I have to give a shout out to Millie Di Chirico, I believe it's how it's pronounced. Professional Sweetheart is her blog, and she has a Substack too. Very cool
Mm-hmm.
person. Also used to work at TCM with Jill. And she, on her Substack, she was talking about Saltburn, and she was also talking about Pasolini. So that's kind of where this gestated. So I think A24 really, I think The Witch was really the film that kind of launched this new genre. I'm just going to call it A24 horror, but there have
Yeah,
been several since
sounds
then.
right.
Hereditary, Midsummer for Ari Aster, Beau's
Midsummer,
Afraid,
yeah.
The
Hmm.
Lighthouse. I guess that's technically horror. This
Yeah,
year
and like
they,
Beau's Afraid is probably more
yeah,
horror adjacent, just like The
yes,
Lighthouse.
yeah,
But yeah,
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 it's not. I mean, A24 really isn't traditional horror. I mean, even The Witch or I mean,
right.
Hereditary may be the closest, but yeah, it's
Saint Maud, for example, is very non-traditional horror, but very
right,
good. I think.
right.
I
Agreed.
think a lot of people get tricked into going to their movies because they think.
Yes,
Um,
based on the
I
trailer. Yeah.
I know The Witch. That I think I want to say it was Andrea's mom and sister went to it, and they're like, "What?" Because you
Hmm.
hear The Witch. So yeah, they pulled one over on a few people, but I think that their footprint. So I watched Beau's Afraid, and um there's been a lot of talk about Saltburn, and Saltburn is not A24. And Emerald Fennell is kind of this rising directorial star artist. And Saltburn is a very, very weird movie. And I would actually say that one's not horror, although some people might disagree with a couple of the scenes.
Hmm.
But I would say that that was influenced by a lot of Pasolini. I could definitely see it. Tiarama, actually. I don't know if you've seen that Pasolini.
Not yet.
It's basically an early Terrence Stamp role when he was like a really big deal when he was young, kind of a sex symbol. And he goes into a house and he is basically treated like a god. That's essentially the premise. And so this is different because it's a bigger house and it's a different kind of angle from he's not treated as a god, but
Yeah.
there are some similarities.
Yeah.
And when I
Maybe an influence. Yep.
Yeah, and when I think about like some of the like Beau is Afraid, some of the more avant-garde stuff, I do see that coming out of Pasolini and Buñuel, I think especially like Phantom of
Yeah.
Liberty. And I think the one thing those films have in common with these is they were not Oscar contenders. I mean, Salo was never going to win an Oscar. If it's been nominated for something, let me know. The
Oh, that
Canterbury
would be awesome.
Tales.
Yeah.
He has some interesting films, but the thing is, Disgust has come back. Yeah, like Saltburn is, you could see the through line to Pasolini, and you can see A24 be for that. And also, I'd say
Hmm.
like I think I'm pronouncing it right. Leos Carax. I don't know if you pronounce the
Carax.
X.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can never get that one right, but yeah.
But kind of the irreverent follow this person around movies. I think I see that
Hmm.
in a lot of A24 horrors, and non-horrors too. Kind of like Linklater's uh, the one he did in Austin, the his first film,
Slacker.
Slacker, yeah. Or like Phantom of Liberty, or even Tati, like, they go from place to place and kind of experience different things. So I would compare those to Beau is Afraid because Munchausen, Carol Zeman. I could see that as
Sure.
well.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't know. That was a lot. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I certainly, I like the idea, and I think Beau is Afraid it did not do well, and it
Mm,
seems to only be popular with cinephiles, maybe, and some cinephiles didn't love it. It really is. It seems to be like Saltburn too. I mean, maybe Saltburn not as much, but it seems to be a love or hate it film.
hmm
I'm certainly more of a I still don't know if I love it because I really need to watch it another time and really just take it in. But I will say the first 40 minutes of that film
mm,
I thought, the best 40 minutes that I had seen of any film this year, probably. I mean, just,
yeah.
I asked her just working at the top of his game of what he's portraying there and someone
hmm
else's anxiety. Although I did just see Poor Things last night, and that first 40 minutes is pretty amazing too. But yeah, I'm going to say it's, but there, I do hear from a lot of folks it kind of goes off the rails and they had a hard time
hmm
staying with it. And it's freaking long. I don't
hmm
remember some of these
Yeah.
films, like
Some of they're too long.
the
Um,
Pasolini. I can't think of the time frame, but I'm feeling like his films aren't that long, and Buñuel, typically. So we've
hmm
kind of we're in an expansion.
hmm
Even Oppenheimer's 3 hours, Beau's Afraid was 3 hours or
It
close
was
to
around
it.
around 3 hours. Yeah.
The
I
so
mean,
even the big movies,
yeah.
these films, even Poor Things, is longer than the other. It's the longest Lanthimos film.
hmm
The favorite was just under 2 hours, and this is 220. So it's really interesting how we're expanding, and that's not just
hmm
A24 films,
Yeah, and Lanthimos is actually an exception because some of his movies have come out on A24. I want to say The Killing of a Sacred Deer, which did get some nominations. And did The Lobster come out
Hmm.
on A24? I don't believe
I
so,
feel
but I could be.
I feel like they were, but yeah, I can't remember.
Yeah, so I'd say he's kind of close to this art slash shock, which makes me think of like Haneke. Um,
Right.
for sure. Some of the well, if you know the Haneke films, I did love uh I think I forget whose closet video it was, but somebody talked about how they worked at a video store and they kept on recommending the piano teacher because they thought it was probably just based on the title. So they're recommending it to, oh, it was Dan Levy from Schitt's Creek. They were like, oh yeah, this is great family entertainment. And so
Right.
then they watched it and they're like, oh my word,
Oops.
great film, but not for kids.
Yeah, you might want to watch it before you recommend it. So yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
that's
Dan Levy
funny.
was very funny. We got to, I'd love to have him on here. Um, I don't know, do
Yeah.
you have any favorite A24s? I mean, it's a large list,
Yeah, I would. I mean, it's hard to say. I keep coming back to him as far as horror goes, and the more I've seen it, I really do love The Witch. It's
Hmm.
a it's a pretty tight film, and it's one that I didn't love early on, and like you said, it may have been one of the ones to kind of kick it off. Um, I don't know if there's any that I've absolutely downright positively loved. I like The Green Knight a lot. I do like Beau's Afraid a lot.
Okay,
I think it's going to kind of
interesting.
come back around. I like the score, but it's odd. I don't know if I have a single A24 film that's been my number one. Although who
You
this
had
is probably
mentioned
too early. Under the
after
Skin,
Yang, that yeah, that's another early one,
that was
which
A24, right? So yeah, that's
that
number
was,
one for
yeah,
me.
yeah,
After Yang was A24 as well. Is that right?
hmm
Yeah, so that's my number one. So I mean, those really would be my two top
yeah.
films. So yeah,
And
definitely
the
love
Sean
that one.
Baker films, the Project, I
Oh
would put
Lord,
that.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
there's some really
number
really good
two
films,
that year.
but the one thing a lot of them have in common, especially the ones that we mentioned, not many awards.
Right,
And Under
right.
the Skin has become a cult classic, and I think
Yes, yeah.
that belongs. But yeah, The Witch.
Kind of our tourists too. If you want to talk
Mhm.
about a tourist type of, and that really kind of supports your theory. I think about this being a new wave. Are there tours out there, and where are they
Mhm.
working, and it may be under the A24 banner.
And I think A24 as a business, I mean, not I think, I know, I can tell they're very focused on the auteurs. And
Yeah,
they're stable, for lack of a better word, is probably about 20 directors that they go to. And sometimes, like, was it Talk to Me this year? The one about uh,
yeah, that's
the
another one.
the the item. They're all kind of high concept. The Witch
Mm,
certainly.
hmm
It Follows was that? I don't think that was A24, but I think that fits in the same
would fit. Yeah, yeah. They,
new
they
wave.
they seem to like they're trying to find like with Talk to Me, there, which I believe are first time directors. And now
Yeah, yeah,
is going to be a franchise of sorts, which does happen with
right,
horror.
right.
It's interesting that hasn't happened with many A24 films, not a lot of sequels as well. But
Yeah, I
yeah,
was the Souvenir them. I think
yep, that's
technically
that's
a
them.
sequel,
Another
but
favorite. Yeah,
not a horror. Yeah, that's a great. Both of them actually are
yeah,
fantastic. Um, yeah, the thing is that they're putting out good. I mean, even though this year has been a disappointment, I don't. I'll have to look over the Oscar noms again. I don't recall seeing many A24 films.
right.
Um,
Yeah, after doing so well with everything everywhere, it's
right, took a
maybe
year
maybe
off.
that's going to be it. They'll just have they took a year off, and they'll maybe be back next year with something big, but definitely wasn't Bo. And I mean, if you've seen Bo, like how would there's no way that's going to be a popular film. It's just not.
No,
I
no,
mean,
no.
you know it's almost surprises me that it doesn't surprise me that it was made. It doesn't surprise
Mhm.
me that it didn't do well either. So I'll be curious to see what Aster does next.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of surprised that Midsummer did as well as it did
Yeah,
because
exactly. Yes. Yeah.
yes, I agree. Movies are getting
Not as
longer.
strange, but
Like I think every Best Picture winner or nominee was 2.5 hours. But Was Afraid and
mhm.
Midsummer actually needed that time and had enough story to tell. In fact, I think the director's
Yeah,
cut of Midsummer is better
it's
because
better.
it
Yeah.
helps contextualize some of the characters and fleshes them out. So yeah. Yeah, all right. Well, I guess we'll see.
Yeah.
Uh, but
Yeah.
we'll
I mean,
talk.
it's a multi-year, it's almost 10 years. If you want to talk
Yeah.
about the wave, if we are going as far back as Under the Skin, kind of, talking about
Hmm.
this off the cuff. Well, Under the Skin was 2014, so it's 20 years. So it is
Yeah.
10 years, I guess. But Yeah.
And what's interesting is we're doing modern classics next, and I don't think there's any A24 on the list. I could be mistaken, but we'll have to think about that because I think there
Yeah, I
are
was
some
going to
modern
put under
classics.
the skin
Oh yeah, okay,
on
yeah.
there. I was going to vote for that, but yeah.
Yeah, with award season, I don't know how much time I'll have to rewatch these. I do have
Yeah.
that second sight, I believe it's version of The Witch, and I
Mm,
also have the Florida Project and a couple others, but obviously I've seen them. It's time to, I think, to revisit The Witch because the
mm,
slow burn was a little too slow for me. I don't like saying a film is slow because I love a lot of Tarkovsky and
right.
Bergman, that sort of thing. But but yeah, that one, and I think the dialogue too,
Yeah, subtitles help
subtitles,
for
yeah,
that one, but and it gets better every time I watch it, and it's short. I think it's only an hour and a half. It's
it is short, yeah.
it's tight, so
Hmm.
it being a slow burn, but the more you see it, the less slow
Hmm.
seems. So,
Yeah,
and
and
Aaron,
I
I know you love to live deliciously, so that's
yeah, I do, and Green Room is another one, that
yeah. I haven't
you
watched that since it came out. That's a good call.
I mean, that's more of a thriller, but thriller slash horror, also, kind of a interesting concept. But you can see that that they've been inspired. So yeah, I think. But what's interesting now, um, like this is not a criticism of Saltburn, which is, I would say, a peripheral film because I do like Saltburn. But like for example, Pasolini was, he was in the 60s. He had lived through the, fight against fascism and the war. And that was very much, I mean, Salo is basically a protest film against fascism, um,
Yeah.
and some other things too. It's the butt of a lot of bad jokes, but I think it's a great film that I do not watch very frequently.
Hmm.
But the thing is, Pasolini had a message, like a very strong message, and he could articulate it very, very well, what he was trying to say with his films. And I don't want to say that the modern filmmakers don't, like Ari Aster. I think they're saying different things. Um, but sorry, I'm getting a call. Uh, I'll call this person back in a second. But but that's probably a good time to wrap up.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what do you think? Does this hold
Good
water?
call. Yeah, I like it, and like I said, might be something worth revisiting. Kind of see how the cult of A24 we used to call it, and now it's
Right,
the A24 New Wave. So,
right. All
yep.
right, Mark. Well, it's good chatting with you. Put
Good
this
to
on the
talk, Aaron.
website,
Thanks.
and we'll be talking about nominations soon.
Awesome.
Exciting stuff, right?
Take care.